Welcome to my messy life. Take my hand and dive right on in with me. It's gonna be alright. Messy imperfect life with Leigh.
Hi friends, welcome to Messy Imperfect Life with Leigh. That was my introduction. Even though I think I'm going to do an introduction that I'm going to record.
That. Do you know what? I have to say though, for a podcast about messiness, that introduction is way too tidy.
Okay, let's try it again.
Messy it up a bit.
Oh my gosh, you guys! Well, let me hear how you would do it.
Hiya.
What was that?
This is an episode of my podcast. You know what the name is because it's on the title. And here's my guest. How about that?
Okay.
Would that work?
Hiya. Welcome to my podcast.
No, welcome.
Oh,
Don't do the welcome.
Hiya.
Right.
You know the name of my podcast. It's about being messy. And I have on the amazing Lynn Ferguson.
Hi.
And my first Scottish person.
I'm your first Scottish person.
That's so exciting.
Oh, have you had anybody, no, be honest though, have you had anybody who wasn't American so far?
No.
Well, see,
I don't think I'm going to have anyone that's not American except you.
Really?
Yeah.
But there's a whole world out there.
There is?
There is. And you know what? That's what it's what the rest of the world complain about America for.
I agree.
The rest of the world are like, America just thinks there's only America. And actually, there's a whole world out here.
And you know, something about America that bugs me with other countries is that when we started America and everyone came, there was culture and language and all of these things. And then everyone actively tried to lose it to become a part of this new place. And people didn't pass down language to their, so we could all speak like all the other countries with 3 or 4 languages.
I see your
They abandoned to become
awesome.
American.
Yeah.
And then now we're screwed because we can only speak English.
Yeah.
But everyone before us from our family had different languages they could have shared with us.
Although I am very impressed with a lot of Americans who are like, I like the Latino culture because they hang on to the Spanish and they speak English too. And I think particularly in LA, I like how people speak, you know, American and Spanish. I like that.
I love it.
Yeah.
But I think that is more recent in the last 50 years or whatever, the more that they're crossing the border. And I think LA now is almost 50-50 Spanish and...
Well, you know, I think the point is, though, that the people who came here to America originally were a bit on the extreme side.
Extreme.
Right? And a wee bit crazy, maybe.
What does that mean? What do you mean,
A wee bit crazy? Well, just a wee bit, you know, like... full on. Didn't they come here because Britain, they came here because Britain wasn't miserable enough or something like that? And I'm telling you, I grew up in Britain. It's miserable. So
just miserable stuffy?
Well, no, I think they wanted more rules. Weren't they sort of puritanical or something? Do
you know, I don't have a lot of history under my belt.
Yeah.
I got a great smile.
You
great
do have
personality.
A great smile. You have fabulous glasses as well.
Great.
In fact, here's a bit of advice for you. If you want to have more people on your podcast, I would ugly up a bit, lady.
Okay. Well, I'm glad you brought that up because it is on camera. But my last...
I'm not impressed, you know. I had a rough night. Hey, you know what happened?
Wait a second. Wait, I want to just say to you,
What?
I know that I'm stopping your conversation, which is not being a great listener that you wrote about in your thing. It's a podcast that's about listening. But I want you to know that I am very attracted to you.
Really?
Not really like as a lesbian.
Sexy way?
Even though I think if I was going to be a lesbian, I would definitely date you. Even though I wouldn't think you would be my type. But I think here's why. The first time I met you.
Is it my accent?
No, because your accent's a little bit too much that sometimes I can't really always understand what you're saying.
What?
But I do think it's sexy. But you are so powerful in knowing who you are and in your rawness of who you are and in no apology of who you are. All things that I love that I saw in you when I saw you speak at this event. And I was like, oh, she's magical because she's balls with no apology. And her hair is a little bit messed up and all this. So I put on my real, I mean, I think these are real. My husband said they were when he bought them for me. I have one pair of real leather pants and I put them on because I think you're that cool that I wanted to be like cool with you.
You are very cool naturally.
Without
anyway.
anything on my earth suit, right? But I went
no.
the extra mile because I was so tickled. It was like a first date for me.
Well, I have to say I'm unimpressed because you look too good. I think I'd be much happier if you looked like a pig.
Yes, gosh
so,
damn
like,
it.
can you...
Okay.
Ugly up a bit. It's
Okay.
never good sitting next to someone who's thin and pretty.
She's like, you're
all
thin
I'm
and pretty.
saying.
And I was like,
Thin and
thank you.
pretty, right?
Okay, now, can you remember what we were going to say before I interrupted you to tell you about that I had a girl crush?
Dreams. I had this weird dream last night, right? Which was, well, like I had an anxiety dream. You ever get anxiety dreams?
No.
Oh, they're awful. Because you wake up guilty of something and you don't really know what you're guilty of. Well, you do, but then it's like random. So I woke up this morning and I was all guilty. And I went into the kitchen and my husband was there and I said, are you all right? And he went, oh no, I had an anxiety dream last night. And I said, well, what was your anxiety dream? And he went, I can't tell you. And I said, no, tell me. Because I'm like, what was it then?
What's the hidden secret?
I actually wasn't really that interested in his dream until he wouldn't tell me.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
Because then I was like, there's something going on. And he went, I dreamt you'd been arrested. And I said, that is awesome. Because I dreamt I stole a car, a Citroen car. And I was driving it the wrong way down the street. And I was like, that is awesome.
That's the strangest thing that
Right?
you had complimentary dreams.
Right?
It's like you stole something and then he had a dream that what your punishment was.
Yeah, that I was arrested.
Wow.
Isn't that weird?
That's super weird.
Yeah.
It's not sexy, but it's weird.
Well, no, it's not sexy.
I really wanted something way more than that. I was like, oh, you were driving
And it
down the
was-
wrong side of the street. Great.
But also the car that I stole wasn't even a sexy car.
What's
it
a
was
Citroen?
a Citroen 2CV? You know those French cars that look like little bugs?
Oh.
That don't really drive properly. They're like they're like tricycles
Yes.
with steering wheels.
Yes.
Like that's what I
Fred
dreamt.
Flintstone car almost.
Kind of, and I stole one of them. And
So
I
you're
was-
doing that down the wrong side of the street and went to prison.
No, the whole of the street. I was driving instead of like you face out the front window and you
Yeah.
drive. And for some reason, I'd managed to get it to work that I was driving like along the side. Like I was like,
It was just all effed up.
it was.
With very vanilla
Yeah,
kind of things happening. It was like a weird.
it's a total metaphor for my life. It's totally effed up with a whole load of vanilla things happening.
I don't want to pull out the list that my,
Don't pull out your list.
of shit that is not vanilla about you.
What's that?
It's just from all of your awards to being a trained. Did you get master's or BA
I got a BA.
in theater,
acting.
right?
Yeah, I trained at the Royal Conservatoire in Scotland. I know. Do you know what I think it is?
What?
I think that they had space for a big person.
They needed a big lady.
Well, yeah. Well, and I don't even know that I was that big when I went there. But, like, there's a point sometimes where, like, it's one of the things where I sort of feel sorry for girls who are too, and not even girls, people who are too pretty.
Like?
When they're like you a bit. But like, no, people who are
Yes.
too pretty when they're like 16, 17 or like up to like 30, that age.
Yeah.
Because people then only see that you're pretty.
Yes.
And then it's difficult to work out how to get your personality out because people are just going, wow, you look so pretty. For me, I was like not particularly pretty. And so they were like, oh, you've got a personality. And I was like, sure. So I think, you know what I mean?
That reminds me of like in high school when guys are kind of the big studs and they reach their height in 8th grade and they're the big football player, or maybe they get to high school and they're the same, or they putter out in 8th grade, but they were the studly guys that year, the big men. Or in high school they play football and their whole thing is this, and then they can't make it to the next level, but they were known for being an athlete or being a football player. Then they have no identity going into college and get super fucked up. And
yeah, well, school's a whole other thing, right? Americans are really in a hurry when it comes to schools.
Oh my
They want their school. Like, I'm a little quirky, but I've managed to give birth to 2 human beings who are decidedly quirky.
I have heard a tiny bit of some stories about your parenting and kids and stuff from you, and it brought me such comfort because I have 5 of them. I have 5 kids.
And you still wear leather pants? You're a superhero,
One
man.
came out of my C-section hole, none out of my vagina hole, and then my other 4 came out of surrogates.
No way.
I almost died giving birth to my first. They took out my uterus And so we put our other embryos into other people's bodies.
Do you know what? A friend of mine has just had a baby, a surrogate baby.
Oh.
Yeah, like literally. And it's like the most amazing thing.
And that friend probably tried for years.
Oh my God. My God, yes.
The majority of the time people get to surrogacy, they're so heartbroken and desperate and sad and all of those things. So it's even more of a blessing.
Well, the thing that I noticed about, like, because I wrote a play with her. That's how I met her, because she was one of my clients, and then we did a play about infertility in the end.
Did you write it?
We worked on it together. So, like, I do that story work where I'll ask you to tell me a story about stuff. And so, like, she came to see me because she wanted to do a play. And then I did all these exercises with her. And when I say exercises, there's nothing with a hula hoop or anything like that.
No, I've done it with you.
Yeah,
I came to your thing.
So I'll say 5 minutes, tell me about this, 5 minutes, tell me about that. And she did these stories for me. And I said, they're all about death. I actually can't hear you because you keep telling me about death. So go away and record me a 3-minute story about every dead person that you can think of, right? And she then,
why did you ask for more death? Because she was talking about death.
Because
to get it out of her system?
Yeah, I couldn't hear her. Like, I could, like, if you say to someone, tell me what your favourite sandwich is, and then they tell you about a dead person's sandwich, then you're like, man, look, tell me
That's
about
not the
like,
sandwich.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's get let's clear all the dead people out the closet. So she sent me 42 dead people, 42 stories. And so I listened to some of them, and oh God, this is quite messy because I'm wandering all over the place. But I listened to some of them, and I would have thought that someone who had that many dead people was like miserable, and she wasn't. The reason that she had them was because she didn't want them to be forgotten.
Oh,
right?
That's sweet.
It was really amazing. But so anyway, we did some stuff about our dead people, but there was a whole thing about infertility. And one of the things that I didn't understand, and I think I wish people would talk about it more, or we'd be more open to it, that every time you go for like to the OBGYN or something, they ask how many pregnancies have you had. Like, even if you go to the dentist, they go, could you be pregnant?
Yeah.
You're like, shut the hell up,
constant reminders you can't have a kid.
Right.
And you have to say it out loud.
Yeah, and write it down. And how many pregnancies have you had, and how many babies have you had? You're like, shut the hell up.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, do you need to know all of that stuff just to like give me a,
Yeah, to touch inside and make sure there's not a bump.
Yeah, right. So
and also along with that, you also start to see everyone has a baby hanging in front of them from a baby Bjorn. I mean, it's like, I remember after I lost my uterus, before we started looking into adoption or surrogacy, and I wanted to have a big family. I'm from a big family. I just assumed I would. And I remember just constantly seeing all of these babies hanging everywhere and pushed in carts and going, why are there so many and I can't? It's like there's constant reminders. But I think that having to write it down and voice it at places like the dentist sucks.
Yeah, totally. Totally.
It just
and
points
also
it out.
even just that there should be a place for people to go. Like, they should do a thing at OBGYN places and all that you don't ever get to be in a room with a pregnant woman. Like, if you're somebody who's suffering with infertility and struggling with it, then don't ever be in a room with a pregnant woman, because it just like sucks.
Rubs it in your face.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. And it becomes an obsession and a full-time job when you want a baby and you don't have one. Well,
it's also that thing about, I have two, and I got pregnant late. I had my first one at 37, which actually...
You got married at 36 or 35?
35.
35.
It was the worst one-night stand I ever had.
Shut it.
No, I'm not kidding you. It was a one-night stand. I'd been in a relationship for 5 years, finally got rid of him, and I was like, I'm never going to be in a relationship again. Oh my God, who are you? And then, like... So periodically, I'll look across at him in the morning, because we've been together.
Were you here or there? Scotland or
London? We lived in London. Yeah, I met him in a bar in London, and periodically I look at him in the morning and I go, "Are you ever going to leave?
How much longer?
How much? This is the longest night ever." But I got pregnant at 37, and there was like a whole load of things then about the pressure of having a baby, like it's in the book. Like, that's what I mean about the messiness, because the Moth are bringing out a book You know the Moth, right?
Well, will you talk a little bit about the Moth and then tell me about your book? Is it a book? Is it a compilation of stories that you've heard through Moth and one of them's yours? Or is it a book you wrote for Moth?
No. I have written a book, but not for the Moth. The Moth, I did one of my stories for the Moth. And then so I work with the Moth periodically, and I
Where is the Moth? It sounds so mysterious.
The Moth is based in New York.
Okay.
But they have a podcast. It's not as adorably messy as yours.
Great, thank you so much.
And they have a show on NPR, and they're sort of.
I thought there was like a theater here where they had people get up on stage.
Oh, they do the slams, which is that people do competition, like a 5-minute competition, tell a story, and then they'll win a slam, and then they'll go into a grand slam. But they also have these main stages where you'll do stories alongside.
Wow.
Random people.
That's what I've heard.
Yeah.
Okay, but it's also a podcast and a radio show.
Yeah. And so this is I think this might be their third book. I think it's their third book. And so I am in that book. My story of my pregnancy, my first pregnancy, is in that book.
What's it about?
Well, I was 37 and so therefore considered a geriatric pregnancy.
Yeah. Isn't that crazy at 37?
Right? And they wanted me to do this test, and I would not do the test. And the more that they wanted me to do the test, the more I decided I wasn't going to do it. And so in the end, they said, well, you better do the test because the baby's going to die in utero or within the first year of life. And I was like, still not doing the test.
You push me as far as you can, and I still won't give in.
No. Changed hospitals, had the baby early. He was 5 weeks early.
Because they saw something was going on weird with the blood or the sonogram? Did they have sonograms?
Yeah. They do this thing, right, where it's like statistics, because I've just had cancer. I just dropped that in there for the joy factor.
Wait, you had cancer before?
No, I've just had cancer.
Yes,
I'm in the, well, I'm not in the end of cancer because I don't have cancer now, but I do get injections so that I don't have cancer anymore.
Forever?
For another 4 years, I think.
You're 2 years out of having it?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, or a year and a half. And it was a year in September I had a mastectomy. And so then a year and a half, yeah.
So one breast?
Yeah.
And took it off?
Yeah.
And then got spacers and got an implant?
Yeah, well, no implant. Oh, they did an amazing thing. If we weren't on camera, which we are, but they took my stomach and they made a breast out of it. Because I had a similar thing, which I was like, I'm not doing an implant. And they were like, but and I was like, yeah, I know, I hear you.
I have some other areas you can work with to create a bosom.
I'm not doing an implant because I don't want it replaced in 10 years.
Yeah.
So do it and then we'll be done. But in cancer, there's a very similar set of things go on with statistics, which is they go, well, 75% of blah, blah, blahs do the things of, you must have had it with infertility where you're just like,
no, I've really heard it in cancer, though.
Yeah.
And it's your life. It's your life. It's your basing decisions on fearful facts that they're throwing out on you and what you're going to do and how you're going to navigate it.
Well, if you get the right oncologist, I have to say, they're pretty awesome because they deal with it all the time.
I read what you wrote,
Yeah.
and it was something so precious about... and luckily, that you had cancer 2 years ago, and luckily there were people who wanted to get into the medical profession who were so kick-ass at what they did that they saved my life.
Yeah.
I love that so much.
There was a point where I was lying there, because I wouldn't go, for some reason, you're meant to get knocked out before you get into the operating theatre. And I was always wide awake, freezing cold, lying there, freezing cold in the nude, slightly off my face with the drugs, but I was like, oh, I do like your hats, and talking to the people, right? Oh, I like your hat, and they're like, hurry up and get her out,
get her out,
stop her talking, and I could see all of the the things they're going to cut you with and everything. It was kind of surreal, and there was a point where, because I talk about this, I've told this story actually, so I feel a fraud for saying it again, but I was had my arms wide, they strap your arms down.
You told that story where?
Oh, I
in the book?
On stage.
Oh, gosh, dang it. We haven't heard it. Act like you're telling it for the first time. I'm hungry.
Pretending. All right. But it sort of describes what I mean about when I say I work with people in narrative and what narrative is and what story work is, right? Which is, so I was lying there awake with my arms strapped down either side, right? Like that. Naked here at the top. And and it was cold, and I thought to myself, like, these people are going to cut me. Like, they're going to cut me. They're going to take bits of me off. They're going to cut me. And the story started going into my head, where I was like, this is like, I'm going to be crucified. These people are doing this thing. Why am I being punished? Blah, 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 blah. And then just as fast as it came in, I was like, wait a minute. All of these people here could have become like journalists or pop stars, or like they could have just flunked out drug addicts, but they didn't. They became like, there's the anaesthetist over there with a hat, and there's a surgeon, and blah blah blah, and all of these people miraculously are coming to save my life.
Yes.
Right? And I welcome them with open
arms. Oh,
arms.
wow. How powerful
Right?
is that, to allow yourself to switch from fear to being open and grateful. And I think that so probably affected your surgery, how they performed, how you healed, all of it.
But that's the thing with life. I think it's why it's such a brilliant thing. I think your podcast is a brilliant idea. It's a brilliant thing to do, because I think, are led to believe that misfortune or difficult moments should be related to shame and guilt. And I actually don't think they are. It's just life. You don't just go on a straight road and there's no corners. You get corners sometimes.
I completely agree. And even more so than I think it's just life, I think it's the good shit. It's where we find out who we are. It's where we, the times that I've been on my knees, and then I think, and then I stand up and I'm like, wow, I'm taller. My heart is open and expanded in ways that I never imagined I would get to feel or have compassion for or understand. And I think too, with what you're doing and with what I do, and I share of myself kind of spiritually and give people tools spiritually to feel better. But I think the biggest thing I do is I share my heart and my vulnerability openly, because not only is it a gift for me to not hold it, but it really allows people to know that they're not alone no matter what they're going through.
Totally. And
I think I think that too, like I'm going through a little thing right now, really big thing right now, but I've gotten faster at going, there's glory in this. I don't have to stay in the victim. I don't have to stay crushed. I don't have to stay in my spinning or my stupid thoughts that aren't serving me, but I can feel pain and I can cry and I can move through it. But with a knowing, good shit is coming.
Totally.
And that, I think, changes the whole raft you float in, or that ride you have. It's going to hurt like hell, but I know what's coming on the other side because I can look behind me and see who I am from the shit that's happened.
Totally.
Right?
I couldn't agree with you more. I think that there's that, like, if you think of all of the kind of rainbow of feelings that we have, you like have laugh, you have joy and laughter, and people seem to be really cool with laughter. That it's good. I'm going to try and make you laugh, right? I'm going to make you laugh. I'm like, that's great. But like with crying is too much.
Oh, I love crying.
There's I like crying.
I love crying so much.
But like, we have a thing where there are some emotions that we should not have, or it would be better for us not to have. And I think that life is having the gamut of emotions, and sometimes in completely inappropriate places.
Yes. Yes, 100%. That makes me laugh, just because I laugh inappropriately often. I think, not when people are hurting or something like that, but I find humor in things that, I don't know, that I just want to smile or crack up about. And it's even if it sucks, I don't know. I don't actually know what I was going to think of my point was. And all I could think is how hard that farting makes me laugh. And it sounds so stupid and ridiculous, but it brings me such joy. But it's like such a, silly thing to talk about. But it really makes me belly laugh.
Yeah.
And it makes me, and when I fart around my kids in a really loud way and they're so taken aback, and I laugh like with tears coming out of my eyes, and they're like, "What's wrong with you, Mom? You're 52 years old. Why is that funny?" And I'm like, I don't know.
It's funny. What's wrong with those kids? Don't they understand?
I don't know. And I'm like, or I used to say all the time when my daughter was 2 or 3 and I would give her a bath and I'd fart and I'd say, you know, my body likes you so much that even my bottom wants to talk to you. And she was like, really? And I was like, mm-hmm. So the next day I go, and she'd be like, what'd it say? And I was like, that you have beautiful hair. And she's like, thanks. And then I said, what'd it say? And I would just make things up. I mean, maybe for a year without even realizing it was happening. And then one day I was done with it and I farted and I was pissed off or something. And I farted and she was like, what'd it say? And I was like, what? She's like, what did your bottom just say to me? I go, Eve, I was joking. That didn't. She was like, oh, your bottom wasn't talking to me. But she was little. But I don't know why it brings me joy. But anyway, that would be something
that's brilliant.
That if somebody farted in a meeting, like a teacher or a serious meeting, I can't let it slide. I can't. And my inside my head says, stay on topically, stay focused, look at them, don't embarrass them. And then the rest of my body says, you have got to start laughing. And then tears will just start dripping while I'm trying to keep a straight face. That kind of stuff.
Farting is funny. And
Isn't
you're
it?
right, actually. Years ago at drama school, there was a very gentle teacher who...
gentle farters are the best.
No, but she was a
So
gentle
embarrassed?
she was very gentle like that. She sort of spoke like that. So it was really difficult to pay attention in her class.
Would she fart a lot or she farted once?
She just farted once really loudly and then she went, must have been a bad pie. Which was quite creepy, but hilarious. And I still remember it.
And she didn't, it's hard for me when they don't acknowledge it.
No.
So she acknowledged it. She said I had a bad pie.
Yeah, but
which
she
would help,
yeah.
which might help get my crazy mind off the hook. But if somebody's just like, pew, and then you're like, I'm so sorry, but I heard that.
But she acknowledged it in a way that she didn't acknowledge it with humor. She didn't even acknowledge it with, right? She acknowledged it in an introverted, creepy fashion.
Yes.
Which made it even funnier.
You're like, pies, I don't think can give you the farts.
Well, it depends whether they're good pies or bad pies. I do believe a bad pie can cause a...
Gosh damn it, now I'm learning about that.
Things you should know.
Yeah. Yeah. And you're talking about mess.
Yes.
Mess.
I am quite Are you messy? You don't strike me as messy at all.
Right now I'm super put together.
You are really put together today. Like you're an intimidatingly put together, I would say.
Thank you. Yeah. You know, I'm learning a lesson right now because I did this because I thought you were so cool. And for some reason, me putting on a really cool outfit and putting my dirty hair in a little loose...
Do you know that I'm not cool now? Are you like...
No, but you are so fucking cool.
What's cool about me? I'm so not cool.
You know who you are.
Yeah, which is not cool, frankly.
Well, for other people.
All right, okay.
But I know who I am too.
Yeah, you do.
And I do. And when I saw you, I was like, oh, because there's not a lot of people who know who they are.
Yeah.
And when we know who we are, we know we're a nut. We know that we still have hurts inside of us. We know we're fucking messy. We know that we might still drink too much from time to time. Like we know all of us.
Yeah.
And we still are okay with who we are. And we still are unapologetic. Having ownership of all of us, of all of me. Instead of making excuses anymore or being sorry for my forgetfulness or being sorry for interrupting sometimes or being sorry for all the time. Going, it's just how the fuck I'm wired. And I'm going to love that part of me now as much as I do the stuff that makes other people happy.
Yeah.
Because it's a part of my whole ball.
Well, I think as well, one of the things that's interesting, or it made me think when you asked me to do this, was I was like, am I messy? I am messy in comparison to what, like who gets to judge? Like who gets to judge who's perfect? I think sometimes with society, there's this thing that happens in London, it probably happens in New York too, that if you're in the tube station, right, the underground station, and there's not a train there, you're just like walking along the stairs, doing your thing, along the corridor thing. If one person starts running, then before you know it, you're running as well, like, because everybody's running because there's one person running. Even if that person was just running because he fancied a little jog,
yeah,
you follow them. And there's this thing about, like, the herding of things, like that we have to be tidy in this kind of universal way, you know. And actually, I don't believe Indy's tidy.
I don't believe, even like going somewhere with my girls, are rule followers and keep things really neat. And I'm always amazed by it. But anywhere I go, I'm going to have my own experience. I'm going to explore. I'm going to decide where I stand. So if I walk in and they go, the line starts this way. And it goes around there. I'm like, all right, thanks. And I keep walking. My girl's like, Mom, you set the line. Can't you just stay on the damn line? And I was like, no. Because there might be a shorter line. I might find a more interesting line. I might find we don't need to wait in a line at all. Like, never just listen to what the frick you're told and wait in line.
Totally.
You're missing you.
Yeah. And the person who's telling you might be a douche. That's always a possibility in life. Like, I like people a lot, but I do always keep my mind open to the idea that the person, this strange person that's just come to talk to you, could be a douche.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know?
Thank you for your opinion or your suggestion. I'm going to go find out for myself what the hell I want to do.
Yeah. Could 100%. Be helpful. Might be a douche. You know?
Yeah. What do you think for you has been, and it was just thinking about kids and parenting, even if it's nothing specific, what do you think has been the most interesting thing that you have learned about yourself on your kids or through your kids? You know, like, because parenting is a trip.
Wow, right? I know.
And some people get 2 kids that make great grades and play baseball and get into the university of choice. And I know they have heartaches and struggles.
I'm not one of those people.
Me either.
No.
Me either. I have really interesting kids who I know are going to do great things, but in the parent time with me are not only, I was going to say putting me through the ringer, but I'm choosing to be through the ringer because we get to choose how we react to everything or show up. But my first one had so many struggles that I just thought having a kid was really harder, way harder than I thought. And then I had the second one. I was like, oh shit, that's what I thought it was. There's something going on here. And then the next one had stuff. And then I got a little break. And then the last one who I thought, oh good, now I know what I'm doing. You know, I can just relax. She is powerful beyond measure and struggles with all that's going on that she has to navigate in her brain full of wisdom. And, you know, and she puts her foot down and she'll, you know, if kid says something to her, she'll take him down and she shuts down, won't talk to the teachers and they're all like, Eve's this and Eve's that. I'm like, Eve is a Powerball. Eve's a force. Yeah. And Eve is going to have to learn on a bumpy stagecoach how to get to a smooth ride by working it out, by doing it wrong and having, or quote unquote wrong. But you know what I mean? Yeah. And I'm just like, I remember when she came, I was like, gosh, damn it. Like she has so much of the same stuff as this one and this one. I thought I was going to skip through her daisies with my shoulder strap hanging off, you know, holding her hand with the sun setting. And oh no, I'm getting in more than any before. And I think for me, the difference with this one is I'm not as affected by other people or what they think. And then I'm not trying to go, don't do that, smile, say hi, hug him, do that, sit down, be quiet. I'm like this. You're feeling pissed off, huh, Eve? Yeah. I get it. Need a little space right now? Why don't you give Eve a little space right now? And then we'll address it. We'll figure it out. We'll unravel it when we can. You know, so when I get a call, like right before you came.
It's like the jobs of being a parent, which is that like the call may come at any point and you have to deal with it. And
when you got a kid who's quirky, like I am, and like my husband is, and probably you and your husband. So we made them honestly, right? Yeah. We created that. When the call comes, it's not a joyful thing. Did they get a solo? Yeah. It's, did they knock someone on their ass, or are they hurting so bad you have to go pick them up? And so it's been so interesting for me just to look at parents with judgment or commenting or whispering about my kid or, you know, that kind of stuff. And me just going, you have no idea.
I think there's a thing with the biggest lesson I think that I have learned from my children is that other people have a right to be the people that they are. And I can guide my kids. I can tell them what to do. I can but when I anticipate how things are going to be for them, I can only anticipate from my perspective, from the experience of my own childhood. I grew up in Cumbernauld, which is just north of Scotland, and north of Glasgow in Scotland, in the 70s, right?
What was that like?
It was cold and rainy and quite bleak at times. The doctors, there was teachers in the school. There was a lot of alcoholism. Prevalent. You know, the thing when I understood about alcohol, I always thought that people weren't really alcoholics if they could drink and stay conscious. That's how where my level of...
From growing up, just seeing people constantly passing out, you were like, they are...
I just have, people...
That was just drunk, he's all right.
They were just drunk. There was a guy I was at school with posted a hilarious, in inverted commas, video on Facebook that had been taken of a guy getting so drunk outside a pub that he walked in front of a bus. And all his friends are like howling with laughter because this guy's so drunk he doesn't even notice he's been hit by a bus. And I'm like, I don't know that's very funny. I think
not
it's
sure
become quite LA. But anyway, my kids' experience of growing up is really different from mine. I never had to do an active shooter drill. I don't even know what that is. My kids know that. They know what to do. They know what to deal with earthquakes. Like, I never learned that stuff.
Yes.
Right? But there was much more brutality in my upbringing than I've never hit my kids and nobody's ever touched my kids.
And so you were you beaten?
Yeah,
I was beaten.
Yeah.
I mean, back then I said I was spanked, but when I look back now, he was enraged and going on with a leather belt, missing my butt up my back, for way too long.
Yeah.
That was like, oh, that wasn't a spanking.
No.
No.
But it seems to have been something that was going on at the time, I think. I really loved my parents, but they didn't do everything perfectly.
Well, they can't.
No.
Because we're all, that's like the one thing. Nobody has a perfect upbringing.
Yeah.
Some are less abusive and some, but because we're human and that's why we're here, is to be flawed and to learn and to keep growing and evolving. For a short period, this thing doesn't last very long.
Yeah.
Like
we're here for like seconds.
A second.
I know.
It's like our soul comes into a body to experience being human. Yeah. And I actually think that we're still up in the stars just watching a piece of us on this planet, like as a movie, learning about our evolution. And that we get in these earth suits for a minute. And I forgot my point because I got distracted that I was saying that we're still up in stars looking down.
We were talking about, I liked it too. I liked your point.
Thank you.
You were talking about nobody has a perfect childhood.
Yeah, we're just here to see how we're going to navigate the stories we're given.
Yeah, totally.
How we're going to heal from it and help, how we're going to let it suffer, like what we're going to do with it.
Yeah.
And I think I'm going to just drop it because my mind just keeps going blank after I say a couple words of whatever that is. That's kind of wanting to come out, but not really.
Maybe isn't, I guess my kids, I've learned... I think I've learned to allow other people to be people. And I don't think I really knew that until I had kids. My eldest is 16 and my youngest is 11. And they're really close actually.
Boys?
Yeah. And they're both really different. And I had the thing when I came here where I was like, tried to Americanize the shit out of everything. I was like, right, they're going to do the 4th of July. They're going to go to summer camp. They're going to do all these things that American words are. And
that American words are.
Yeah, they've got words where they're like, freshmen and all that. I'm like, what even is that? What's a sophomore? I don't even know what a sophomore is. Is it like a sofa or something? What the hell's a sophomore?
Why are you labeling it?
Yeah, well, just tell me what year number it is.
Yes.
So I put them to like summer camps at the beginning, and then there came a point where they both sat me down and went, enough of this. We're tired. We go to school all year, and when we have the summer, we want to stay home. So can you just sort that out?
But we Americans are like, spring break, what are they doing? Summer, what are they doing? Da-da-da, what are they doing? Da-da-da, what? Right? And then moms are driving their asses all over to take all kinds of practices and all kinds of stuff. And kind of when they move out of the house, none of that matters.
Yeah.
I mean, they're not going to be on sports teams or taking all the karate classes or all the thing. You know what? I boiled it down to for myself. Yeah. what's important with parenting is when I started having kids, and I thought, what would I really have loved from my mom? Because she was mentally ill and locked behind her bedroom door, so I didn't have access to her. Like, what would have been my... And when I thought about it, the two things, it was to be seen and to be heard. If she could have just looked at me and heard me, that would have been enough. I would have felt like I mattered. And when I started in the parenting thing, trying to do things right and trying to figure out, and I didn't know how to sew or cook, and I was like, what the hell do I know how to do? And I thought, oh, wait, all I need to do is to see and hear them. Not that I did that the whole time, but I know that that's what's important.
Yeah.
And even now, like, as I get caught up in, he's not doing any sports, he's not doing anything, he's just sitting around playing his video game. I'm like, go see and hear him. Sit down and let him be seen so he doesn't have to look at his freaking video game all the time.
Or maybe that's his way of switching off. Maybe that is his thing. Like, we started doing a thing where we had a horrific thing where the youngest got bullied really badly, in a way that was just mind-blowing. Anyway,
so hard to navigate for him, and
he was 9. It was just awful. Anyway, afterwards, there was a whole load of things we had to deal with, and while we were dealing with it, we put in place this thing where every night we'd do the 3 things. Have I talked to you about this before?
I don't know.
So, like, whenever we're going through difficulty, we've got a stage of something going on, we do these 3 things, or even if we're just a little bit off. And so we'll meet, all 4 of us, and we have to say one thing that we're grateful for, one thing that we love about each person in the room going round.
I love that.
And one thing that we did today that we're proud of.
Oh, they're all positive.
Yeah. And so then it means that you hear everything. You can hear everything that's going on, and you can hear, it means that, like, you don't have to download a whole load of stuff on one person. You don't have to say, if I've like got a whole load of work on or something, or like whatever, then I could say, I'm really proud that I got that thing done. My kids don't need to know that I've like got loads of work on and I'm stressing about it.
Yeah.
But they do understand that there's something going on without me laying it at their door, because they then also will say, well, you learn loads of secrets as well, because I'm proud that I stood up to blah, blah, blah. And you're like, oh, who's blah, blah, blah.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So you hear that. So we did that for a while. We still do it if we're in a little bit, if the family feels a bit off kilter. But mostly what we try and do is we do a weekly business meeting.
Oh, gosh, damn it. See, we used to do a family meeting every Monday at 7:30.
Yeah.
And then things kind of went haywire and everything was all over the place. And I watched our family communication decline.
Yeah, definitely.
And I just told my kids, guess what we're going to get back to?
Yeah.
I had this purple heart that was stuffed with beans or something. I don't know what the hell it was. And you couldn't talk unless you were holding it. And everyone had to go say something nice about someone in the circle. And we'd talk about kind of hot topics, what we're going to change, or if they could help me think of ways to better enforce it without yelling, and to address things and tell how you're feeling, or if something you don't like. Yeah. And we stopped and it unraveled. So, I mean, not it, but we didn't have that kind of bond anymore. Yeah. And as much as they hated it, I think they liked it. It
really helps. If you're a bit precarious, if you're not in the place of doing the meeting yet, the 3 things, because it's over like real fast. And it gets everybody linking. The reason we'd done it was because things were so harsh for the youngest.
On the outside, yeah.
That everything, but also you couldn't ask him too much. You couldn't do that.
Didn't want to rehash it or talk about it.
And what was really cool about it was he healed. Like he said, he came home one time, he'd said, we did volcanoes in school. And he sort of said about what happened with volcanoes, and then there's a big eruption, and then it cools, and the landscape has changed. It'll never be the same. And he said, and I think that's what happened with us.
Oh.
Right?
That's such a cool thing for him to get.
Right? He understood it.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So, something you're grateful for.
Yeah. Something
you love about MD in the room, which is hilarious when you do that with teenagers, because they're like, I love that you've got hair. And stuff like that.
Yes.
They're just like...
Yes.
They like, but it doesn't matter.
Yes.
And one thing they did today that they're proud of. It's like a really cool way to just like switch out the noise.
Yeah. I'm going to do that at dinner when we sit together.
Yeah.
When we sit together. Yeah, because right now I would just say, tell me your favorite thing from today. Tell me your favorite thing. Or, because I always would want to say what sucked.
Right?
Oh my God, this happened. I was so mad. Can you believe it? And I was like, all right, whatever. Now tell me the good thing.
Yeah.
So I even stopped saying one good, one bad. Now I just say, tell me something good from today. Or when I drop them off, do something kind today and tell me about it when you get home.
Yeah.
Just to switch up their thinking of what the hell's going to happen to them.
Totally.
Yeah.
The proud thing is good because you get that where they go, well, blah, blah, blah is a douchebag. And he said this and then I'm proud that I didn't react. And then you go, oh, okay.
Oh,
so you get
turns
the same
it.
story, but you get it just like...
It flips it automatically to healthy.
Yeah. I'm proud that they just didn't get me mad.
That's so sweet.
Yeah.
I like proud too because they're acknowledging themselves, and anyone ever takes time to acknowledge themselves.
Well, we live in a society where we'll always be better if.
Yeah.
You'll be better if you get that haircut. You'll be better if you get that card. You'll be better if you have the pension scheme. You're better if you've organised your funeral. You'll be better if you've done... You're like, holy fuck.
I got a lot of work to do.
Yeah.
And I'm doing this. I want to give you a little flyer for it. I'm doing a workshop coming up, and it's called Messy Imperfect Life. But the whole thing is looking at what you think is messy and realizing that every single thing leading you up to this moment, everything that's happening right now, it's so purposeful in what you are here to do.
Yeah.
And it's like unleashing your life with all the restraints, only if, and I got to do this, or I have to be this right, or I have to be ready. No.
Yeah.
Like you have everything you need right now to do whatever you can dream of. Yeah. I'm really excited about it.
It sounds brilliant.
Yeah.
Actually.
And it's finding the limiting beliefs, and crushing them and replacing them with something positive.
Do you know what I wish that someone had taught me early on is that it's okay to fail. I wish somebody had taught me that early on. It's the thing I say to my kids, which is that it doesn't matter if you get it wrong. And it actually doesn't matter if everybody else is right and you're wrong. It totally doesn't matter. Just do it because you want to do it. Because when you take away the weight of failure, then anything becomes possible.
Oh, you said fail.
Oh, what did you think?
With your accent, I was like, well, now she's talking about two different things. I thought you said feel.
Oh.
I thought you said, I wish I would have told my kids, or it's okay to feel. And I was like, yeah, that is nice to let them know all emotions are good. And then you said, well, because then if they,
how
don't
much
win
of me have you understood?
About a third.
That's more than my husband.
It's so funny. Where's your husband from?
Oh, he's from, well, actually, this is one of his stories. Do you want his story? His story is he was born in Singapore to English parents. But then once he was 3 years old, he moved to Scotland. So technically he's not from anywhere. That's one of his stories.
Oh, that's great.
And every time he tells it, I switch off.
Yeah, you're like...
When someone goes, where are you from? I go, okay.
He was raised in frickin' Scotland.
He's got a Scottish accent. Whatever you want.
So I asked that because why wouldn't he understand you if he's from the same country?
Because he's
from the proper part and you're from the wrong side of the tracks?
I think actually he's a little deaf. It's hilarious.
Oh, that's hilarious.
He is. And you got hearing aids and he's all embarrassed about it.
No, I got everything today. The first time I heard you speak, I got most of it. So I was wondering if...
That's why you think I'm cool, because you don't get
I didn't
all
know
the
what
words.
the hell you're saying. She's so mysterious. Where is she going now?
Well, what you're thinking is I'm saying all the best words, but actually I'm not. I'm totally saying other words. I am like the Swedish chef of conversation to you, right?
That's so funny. Yeah, but when you said feel, said fail.
Fail. How would you say it?
Yeah, fail.
Yeah.
No, I would say fail.
Fail.
You said feel.
Feel. No, I said fail.
Mm-hmm. That's what I heard.
Anyway, I think it would be...
To fail.
Fail.
To let it go wrong or miss it or mess it up.
Totally. I think it's okay. We're so afraid of it not working out that there's things that we don't do. My youngest particularly, he did this thing where he wouldn't speak for ages. He was like, he would do the odd sound here and then, and everybody was like, oh my God, that kid doesn't speak. Right.
Wait, when did he do this? How old was he?
I guess when he was like 2, he was still
okay, that's good.
Not really.
It wasn't like 9 to 10.
No. But then when he was like 3.5, he started doing full sentences. He just did kind of like not.
But
bother.
two's scary now because 2 is the age where people with autism go backwards.
Yeah.
So that could have been like, but not back then.
But no, because he was very communicative. He just didn't bother speaking.
Oh my gosh.
So he was like, he'd have eye focus, or he would climb everywhere. He like knew his mind. He wasn't. He'd do, he'd connect with you in loads of ways. It's just if you spoke to him, he would be like,
I'm not. My daughter Eve, since I can remember, people, especially women, have longed for her approval, or it's the strangest damn thing. So one time, Eve's like this, and she'll look at you, and you'll go, "Hey, I'm Lynn," and she's like, she won't even do that. She'll just be like, the more people need her to validate them, the more stoned she is.
She's going to do it, yeah.
And it's been since she was little, like when she was 2. And women went to lunch and they came back and they're like, oh my God, we talked about Eve. And she's somebody who's like, I'm going to get her to talk about me. I'm going to get her to smile if it's the last thing I do. And I bought her a teddy bear. And I was like, you guys talked about Eve? She's 2. Like, that was your lunch? Yeah. So I was always like, what's going on? But there's something about her that is, to me, she's the first person that I know, that I've seen or met, who knows who they are. Yeah. Even though she's complicated and she has stuff to navigate, she could give a rat's ass what you need. What, if I'm like, smile at them, she's like, I don't even know them. Yeah. Like, what are you talking about? Do you know what I mean? Or whatever. Or it's just so interesting as a parent to go, holy shit.
Yeah.
That's it. Just holy shit. Because I've learned that Eve knows her drum beat and she's walking it. And if I tell her to drum faster or different or stop one of the drums, she's like, I don't know what you're talking about.
I think there is a thing with children. Like, we're in talks with about doing this story work in schools. The story exercises that I do. Because my story work is based on nobody ever can or ever will see the world exactly as you do.
Yep.
It's not possible. So therefore, if you're honest about your perspective, then it will be a unique story, right? And the reason I wanted to do it in schools is because I watched what was happening with my own kids, which is that we love them to be different until they're about 7. And then once they're 7, they got to get their shit done. They've got homework to do. They've got things to do. Why can't they just be in order? Like, why can't they smile at the people and be polite all the time? Why do they have to be them? Like, we want them to be like little soldiers. And then by the time just before they hit college, we want them to show how different they are. It's like we've squeezed them into like this sausage machine. Don't be different. Don't be different. Now be different. And they don't know how to do it.
Yeah, when you said that at the beginning about we want our kids to be different, I thought until they're really different.
Yeah.
And they're like, come back a little more to center. Give me a break for a second.
I hear you. My eldest is totally that guy, We had the thing where he will only ever be, he would only ever be like the top of the class or the bottom. He just would never be in between. He'd never be in between. And actually it was totally random as to how, and we had to fight to get him tested.
Yeah,
and then they tested in 4th grade. He tested at 10th grade for language arts.
Wow.
But when you look at his scores, it's like, what the hell?
Yes.
Just because he's who he is.
Yeah.
And he is amazing at creative writing, but you can't boil an egg.
Yeah.
Which is what we are in life, right?
That's right?
Which is the whole theme of your podcast.
That's
which
right.
Is we are great in one way and rubbish in another.
That's right. Yeah, and I think something that I love that I've learned and I keep learning is surrender. Yeah. And I think kids, for me, especially with their kind of layers, it's one of the greatest surrenders of not needing them to be anything, not needing them to fill my needs of what I think a kid should be because other people are looking, not needing, but really letting them. Thank God for this last one because she's going to have a healthy life. Yeah. Because the first one, I was still trying to shove into a square peg and he was round or whatever the saying is, that's not the right fit. And I kept trying and trying and trying. And he ended up going to a therapeutic boarding school. We sent him to a therapeutic boarding school from 13 to 15 because things got so out of control in our home.
Right.
Me trying to help him so much and figure out what was going on so much and trying different medications. And was he bipolar? Or is he this? Or is he this? Or is that? So much. Like even talking about it wears me out. I had to, I felt like I was carrying a tray with a 13-year-old on it, right?
Yeah.
And I had to go far away to set it down, to walk away, to breathe, and to let him stand up.
Yeah.
And be who the hell he is, exactly the way he was made, not me trying to get the right play dates.
Totally.
We're not invited to any parties. What's going on? You know what I mean?
Oh, totally. My eldest is doesn't really, I mean, he has friends, but he's not really that, like my youngest, when they have birthday parties, my youngest has the bouncy slide, and he has the petting zoo for the girls because they don't like it because it gets too violent on the bouncy slide.
Right.
And he likes to have the donut wall, and he's got the whole thing sussed about, he's involved in it all. And he'll have 30 kids.
Yeah.
Right. My eldest, no more than 5. He finds it unpleasant to have more than 5 people in a room. And mostly he wants his computers all networked so they can all play this game
next
together.
to each other. Yes.
And he only wants this kind of pizza and this kind of stuff. And he doesn't want too much noise.
Yes.
And at the beginning, because he was my eldest, I would have these, my mother, for all of her things, would always have massive birthday parties for us, right? Even though there was she'd bake everything and it was all sandwiches.
Yes.
And it was past the parcel. But there was all the kids in the neighborhood would come. So I just thought, well, that's what mothers do.
She threw huge parties for the first one and he was just hating it.
This kid is don't do parties. And at Christmas, around the Christmas period, he wanted to know how many parties we were involved in.
Yeah.
Because he wanted to know what ones he had to go to and what ones he could opt out of. He's just not that guy.
Yes. And it's so weird when you get into parenting and you have a kid and you're like, okay, you're a boy. So we're going to do Beeman Park football. And then you're going to play baseball. And then I would spend an hour fighting to get a jersey on him, him crying, and then the pediatrician saying it's important for him to play sports, to socialize, and then me dragging him by his arm to the car to try and strap him in, feeling, this doesn't feel right. No. And then they're like, well, don't give in to his tantrum, because then, all these things you're getting, and I'm like, what's happening?
Totally.
The reality is, let him be.
But also this thing about, it comes back to the thing of statistics again. Maybe boys do benefit from team sports. I'm sure a great proportion of them do. But not this specific one. This specific one is finding it really traumatic.
Yes.
Leave him alone. He's part of the other percentage,
Yes, and I had to learn that by tired arms of dragging for a while him places that he was pleading not to go. And that's so effed up.
My eldest would go somewhere and then he'd just stand at the side, looking, or away in a little world. It's funny. It is funny,
but it's funny because it affected, I'm not funny, but it affected me because I just wanted normal. I just wanted to go hang out with the other moms. Yeah. I just wanted to sit in the stands and gab with them while the boys played sports.
But didn't you find with the other moms that all this stuff, everybody, one of the things that my friend who's just had the surrogate baby, I said to her, do go to the mother and baby groups because it's really good to deal with the stages. You don't have to become friends with all of these people, and you won't, but you can see people develop through different stages. And new
moms, it's so important to start building your community because you're in a whole new world the first kid.
Yeah.
Totally. You're out of your work, you're out of your friends, you're out of running around, you're out of whatever you were doing. So it's good to come together, not only to learn stuff about your kid, but to be around other women who are in the same
there's
place.
Things around there's stages, at 6 months, kids do this,
sit up or crawl,
and you find out that some people aren't ready, other people are, the whole thing. My eldest kid walked before he was 1, right? He was up.
That's fast, especially for a boy.
Yeah, totally. He was up and he was reading books by 3 maybe.
Wow.
Not proper reading, but he would turn the pages and he'd memorized all the words, so he could tell you.
Wow.
It was a little. But we were all kids do that, don't they?
Yes.
No, they don't.
No.
And then the other one didn't bother really walking for a while, and then totally his style is to not do anything, and then totally do it mastered.
Yeah, she's waiting.
But yeah, he's like,
He's observing how to actually do it
I
all.
like this, do it like that.
Yeah.
But when you're with other people who've got kids at the same stage, then it's really good because you can see that they're not all perfect.
Yeah.
Doing their own thing.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
cool. It's a cool thing.
Yeah. All of it is. And I love that we're not perfect. And I love that it can be dirty, messy. And I love the more that we talk about the mess, the more normal it is.
Yeah, well, it's normal. Like, who doesn't have that little pile of paper at the end of their kitchen?
Me.
You don't?
No, because I have a housekeeper that puts it somewhere.
Yeah, but there you've got it somewhere, though.
I know. I do.
Have you got the drawer of destiny?
I actually will
something?
say, could you please clear that off? And then it goes in the garage, and it's just a giant, huge thing. And then I just get overwhelmed and push it all into a trash can.
Which is that thing of why do we not just like put it in the trash can?
Right away.
Yeah.
Who cares?
Have you seen that Marie Kondo woman, the little Japanese woman?
Tidying up?
Yeah.
I haven't seen her, but I bought her book and listened to a tiny bit on tape.
Yeah.
And then I got bored.
Because she's got a thing on Netflix, and we watched one episode, and the first episode was about clothes. Like how to
Oh,
clear
the joy?
Yeah, clearing the clothes away and everything. And we all cleared the clothes.
Okay. I'm going to watch it.
Yeah, so we haven't done the second episode because the clothes one was quite intense.
Yes, you got to recover.
But I'm hoping that she's got a whole episode dedicated to that
Yes,
little pile of paper
I
at the
think
thing of the kitchen.
This is the little nugget I'm going to get besides the three things to say.
Yeah.
Is to watch that with my family because, I love the word joy so much.
Yeah.
And I tell my kids, only follow what lights your body up. Only follow what excites your heart.
Yeah.
Start to be aware of it now. And as you move through school and you get towards college, do what lights you up, what excites you.
How do you handle it when your teachers have got a douchey, when your kids have got like a not the best teacher?
I just tell them that's going to happen their whole life.
Yeah.
That there's going to be someone who sucks or isn't nice or there's always going to be a jerk. There's always going to be something that's off. But if they're not nice, I have a talk with the teacher.
Yeah.
One-on-one. And I'm...
Do you do angry eyes?
Oh, I do like basically don't fuck with my kid or I will take you downtown. That's what I say almost.
Do you do it in a Scottish accent?
No, because I can't do it very well, but I'm willing to try.
You could do it in a Scottish. Sometimes you just have to turn up and be Scottish.
Well, I don't know what that means. I have never moved my mouth with Scottish before. I've tried it. I've tried to do English like this. I talk like this.
Apples and pears.
Apples and pears. See, I'm really the worst. So I was feeling a little vulnerable doing my English.
Oh,
and then you made fun of me. So now
I'm sorry.
I'm paralyzed for the Scottish, but I want to give it a try.
Right, stick your chin out.
Okay.
And don't move your top lip. And flatten your tongue. Right? Talk like that.
Talk like that.
No, you're still moving your mouth too much. Talk like that.
Talk like that.
Yeah, you're there.
Oh, talk like that.
Talk like that.
Talk like that.
Flatten.
Talk like that. That's kind of good.
That doesn't, it sounds kind of Asian.
If you fuck with my children, I talk like
I think
that.
this might be Angela's ashes.
I am the worst at that. Damn it to hell. My son's good though. He's got a good thing.
I'm not great at accents either. Although I've done this.
Do it. English, American.
I don't know that I can. You know what I do? Like, my kids take the piss out of me. So, like, if I say to them, "Can you get the bottle out of the fridge?" They go. I say, "Can you get the bottle out of the fridge?" And I say, "Can you get the bottle from the refrigerator?"
Yeah.
Like, why didn't you say that? I'm like, get that bottle out your fridge.
Yes.
No, I did this when I used to do acting, and we talked about that before, right? I used to do acting, did quite a bit of acting before I moved over here, and then the unions here. Oh my God, you like your unions. So I'm a member of Equity, but then in order to act here, I'd have to do SAG stuff. And I was like, fuck, I'm working as a writer. I don't have time to do the SAG stuff.
Yeah.
So I didn't do it. I still am eligible. But anyway, randomly started doing ads, doing these adverts. So I do an ad for car insurance.
On TV?
On TV.
Oh my gosh, that pays well.
As a German. And when I...
What does that sound like, you being a German?
When I was growing up, my grandfather used to say, life is not a straight line. It's like a wooden cube.
Oh my gosh.
Right? I know. But
And you transform your whole body and your movements. Your German person is different than you.
I know, right?
Seriously.
I know. But what was funny about it though was because like I was like, the reason I wanted to do a bit of acting is because it's really cool to show up and do other people's stuff. Right? Mm-hmm. The thing that they should tell you at drama school is that have your ego in your craft, but don't have your ego when you're working. Because actually, it's like these people have drawn the lines and they want you to be all the special colours.
Yeah.
So you be all the special colours.
Yeah.
And that's the beauty of acting. And it's also why it must be really painful to be an actor full time, because you're turning up to be the colours for people all the time.
Yeah. Not your own stuff.
Yeah. Well, there's something really brilliant where you go, just tell me what do you need? Okay. And do you need it like that? Magic. Or do you want it that way? That way. Okay. Because then it doesn't matter, because you're just like, you're like tidying up someone's house or something in a way, right? So I was like, yeah, I really want to do a bit of acting because I'm spending too much time doing my own stuff. So I turn up and like to do these castings, and I go in, it's like me, and there was like a lot of people who like conceivably could be German. And then they called me back and I was like, that's ridiculous. Because it's like, you say it sounds like German, but you're not German.
Right.
Right? Because I don't think it sounds like German. I think it sounds like Euro-Swiss or something. Yeah. Anyway, so I turned up for the recall and it was like me and all Germans. And they were like, wie geht's? And I was like, oh. So I out-Germaned Germany.
Oh, that's awesome.
Out-Germaned Germany.
That's freaking awesome.
I know. Right? So there you go. That's been my adventure here.
And your adventure too. I love that all of that, and it's with all of us when we can look back at what we've jumped to and what we've gotten from each thing. It's like you're acting and you're this and you're this and you're this and you're this. And now you're using all of that with all of your stories and all of your knowledge and all of your acting and all of your stage presence and all of your writing. Not only doing what you love and sharing your stuff, but also helping other people bring out their story, because that is the new power tool for our future is storytelling. It's no longer information. It's about being relatable and vulnerable and connecting at a level of trust, and then going from that point, which is the most powerful, I think for business especially.
Well, I hope so. The thing, I really got into it because like I work a lot with writers. I have a couple of showrunners and writers, and I like my background is that I trained as an actor. So then you're learning to be the colours in all the line drawings, right? And then I started doing stand-up. So you understand that it's really like stand-up is like a service industry. That's really what it is. And you understand.
I've done stand-up.
Did you like it?
I did it for like a year and a half. Yeah. And I love storytelling. I love being on stage. I love microphones. I did not love stand-up because I had to not organically share my story. Yeah. I had to tweak it to get to a punchline.
It's rhythm. It's very much rhythm.
And I was like, well, fuck that. I just want to storytell. I have to just find.
I used to do it. I would host it for a while. I think maybe like 3 or 4 years. I was resident host of this club in London. And I used to get, because it was the same audience that would come all the time, I would do this thing. So I was hosting the evenings and I'd say, right, okay, here's the deal. I will come on and I'll say my name and stuff. And I might do a joke. I maybe won't. And I may tell a story. It depends what kind of week I've had. But basically, I'm going to talk to you in sentences, and at the end of the sentence, I'll leave a little gap. Like that. Right? And then or like that. And I'd say, and your job is in the gap is you either laugh like uproariously, and then I'd get them to do the laugh, or you sound interested, or you give me thunderous applause.
So every time.
So that's the rules. I just talk.
Pause.
And you do the thing, right? And they'd be like, I'm not sure. I said, and if you don't, I'm going to talk to you about my verruca. And then I would
about your what?
Verruca, which is like a sore that you get in your foot.
Oh.
And so then I would start talking about my verruca, and they would all go fucking wild. They'd laugh, they'd cheer and all that.
Oh my gosh, I love so much. You gave them the rules. You gave the setup.
The point is it's like, not like there's great stand-ups for sure who do storytelling, but for me it was like rhythm, and I find that some people find the rhythm uncomfortable. I quite liked it.
I think there are no rules though.
In stand-up, it is that
Well,
you serve the audience.
Yeah.
They're waiting. Like, the
Yes.
best advice I ever got told about performance ever came from the woman who was kind of producer at that club. And she said, you know what? The people here that are here tonight, they have jobs to go to. They have families. They probably came here in public transport. They have crisis going on. They've maybe got an elderly parent. They've got money issues. They've got things that keep them awake at 3 o'clock in the morning. They worry about their future, and all they're asking from you is that for the period of time that they're here, you make them laugh. That's what your job is.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh. That was like...
I think we can out on that because he's flashing his fingers at me. But you know what I just love is what you just said. That sentence is life. What that person said to you, what the owner of the club is, all of those things that keeps them up, the bills that they have to pay, all of that we all have that going on. And I think it's so powerful when we remember that when we walk into a room or we think, wow, they have it together or they look good, or we know under my super cute outfit I put on.
You can say that, but you're the only person I know who has 5 children and can still wear leather pants.
Well,
right?
But you know why? Because they didn't come all out of my body.
No.
Because my vagina is still tight.
There are many people. Don't you talk to me about your
Wait,
vagina.
can I just tell you something real quick about that? Is that a lot of times for many years, maybe still right now, when I'm talking to a really cute man and he says, oh, what's going on with you? And I'm like, hi, I'm Leigh. And he goes, oh, I'm married. I have 5 kids. This voice always in my head says, but none of them came out of my vagina. It's still tight. Even though I'm not going to have sex with them or they're never going to see it or touch it. I want them to know I don't have a big flappy thing down there with all those kids didn't come out of those. Yeah.
But
so that's just
you could say I have a very elastic body. And then
But a tight puss? Yeah. My whole point is I don't want them to think it's flappy elastic.
You know, I just want to suggest to you, that maybe people who've had 5 children there may be some people who've still got tight pusses. They may have, if you've got an elastic body.
If you listen to this podcast and make comments, do you have 5 kids and a tight puss?
I would like to know. I would like to know.
But it's so funny that just comes out when it's a cute guy. I'm like, it's still tight down there.
Do you say it to ladies as well?
I don't say it to anyone. Yeah. It just goes in my head. It's like an automatic little saying.
Keep it with your voice. Keep it in your inside voice. There are some things you don't need to say.
Use your outside voice. You are delightful.
So are you.
Yeah.
You could do with being uglier though ugly up. I'm not getting a picture taken with you again. Right?
I'm so freaking sorry.
Yeah.
I'm gonna let loose a little bit. But you drew this out of me. My excellence in appearance. So it's your fault. Thank you for coming, sweetheart.
Thank you for asking.
I'm happy to have had you.
Yeah.
How do you say goodbye in Scotland?
Cheerio.
Cheerio then.
Cheerio.
Do you throw the in? I mean the then, or is that just English?
Depends.
Cheerio.
Cheerio then. No, just cheerio.
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 All right then. I mean, shit. Cheerio.